Dun 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 dun. Oh, story time, I broke my neck. Hi guys, it's Adria, and for today's storytime video, I'm gonna tell you guys about how Brandon and I got engaged. So a lot of you probably already know this, probably already know the ins and outs of it, maybe you learned some stuff you didn't know, but I know there's still some of my subscribers that don't know I'm engaged or didn't know I was engaged and are like, what? They're engaged? What? If this is news to you, yeah, Brandon and I, alright, I'm shutting off that toilet. So I'm sure the majority of you guys already know that Brandon and I are engaged, but maybe you don't know, or maybe you just want to hear the whole story, how it all played out, maybe some little things you didn't know about it. So let's start from the beginning. So if you're kind of new here, Brandon and I met February of 2013. Brandon is from Florida and I am from, why did I forget where I'm from? And I am from Pennsylvania, and we met on Instagram. Brandon followed me on Instagram, I think in like summer of 2012. It was just a follower, you know, would just like my photos every now and then, you know, it wasn't anything super out of the ordinary. Then I broke up with a long-term boyfriend, and you know, Brandon and I just talked as friends back in the day when Instagram didn't even have direct messaging and you had to download Kik to be able to talk to people. So that's really how Brandon and I met. So then we met face to face for my birthday, which was that August, and he flew me down here to Florida to meet him for the first time, which was really kind of nerve-wracking. That video is on YouTube. I'll link it up in the cards if you haven't seen Brandon and I's meeting video, because I still do get a lot of questions about Brandon and I's relationship. Meeting for the first time, it was really, really weird. It's almost like the feeling when you meet somebody like famous, like that you've only ever seen on TV or something. Like, it's just weird to see them not on a screen. That's how it felt meeting Brandon, because I'd only ever known him on a screen. So Brandon and I talked about getting married, we talked about getting engaged, but you know, it was never like, oh, we're gonna get married then and we're gonna get engaged then. You know, it was just kind of like hypothetical, like what if we got engaged? I mean, and like family, his family, my family would constantly be like, when are you guys gonna get married? When are you gonna get engaged? When are you gonna have kids? So that whole thing, it gets kind of annoying after a while, so you're kind of just like, alright, you know what, step up to the plate, let's do this. Not that that's any reason to get engaged just because your family's nagging on you to do it, but you know, it does get a little annoying after a while, to be honest. When are you guys getting engaged? It's like, so we got engaged back in May of this year. It was May 28th. 2016, that was our engagement day, and people asked me if before that, like if I was suspicious, if I knew, if I had seen the ring, if I picked out the ring, all of that. So let's backtrack to Christmas of last year. So we were up in Pennsylvania with my family for Christmas, and there was this one day, I was having the worst day ever. I think it was Brandon's last day there because he was flying back to Florida before me because he had to work, and you know, I just wanted to stay an extra week, so we were flying back separately. So it was Brandon's last day there. I really wanted it to be fun, I wanted to have a good day, and everything just kind of went to crap really quick, and it was really frustrating. My brother had to come pick us up to go do something, and he's like, oh, I'm leaving now, and then he wasn't there for like 3 hours, and we had all just been sitting around for 3 hours waiting for him to pick us up because we thought he was coming. That's a whole nother thing, but I mean, just overall the day was really kind of bad, and we had to go to the mall to get Brandon's glasses fixed because I stepped on Brandon's glasses earlier that day, so it was just an all-around not good day. I don't even know if Brandon had contact lenses back at this time. I don't know if he had them with him, but it was like urgent that we got his glasses fixed because he had to travel the next day, and Brandon's like pretty much blind without his glasses. So we had to go to the mall to get his glasses fixed and all that, and that took a while. I don't even think they were able to fix them, if I can remember. I don't remember, I don't know. But so while we were at the mall like waiting for them to look at them, we were just kind of like shopping around and stuff. My brother and his now fiance, but at the time girlfriend, were like in a jewelry store like looking at rings and stuff, and I could like see them across, you know, the way. And you know, we were in Forever 21 and we were just kind of looking around. You know, I was just in such a bad mood. Such a bad mood. This is probably the worst mood I've ever been in my life. I was just being really rude for no reason. I think I was PMSing a little bit, to be honest, but so I'm like looking over at my brother, they're looking at rings, and Brandon's just like, what's your problem? I'm just like, oh, well, they're looking at rings like normal couples do, because I was just all like butthurt, you know? Just kind of that whole like, oh, we're never gonna get engaged, I'm never gonna get married, just kind of feeling. But it was mostly just because I was having a shitty day. I was just, yeah. So I just took it out on that, but I feel really salty about saying that now because Brandon had just bought me an engagement ring, like on that trip, like literally on that trip. So that same night, we're in the car, I was still in my funk, Brandon gets a phone call on his phone from just some anonymous number, and he's like showing it to all of us, because Brandon and I always have this joke when like a random number's calling us, we'll like show the other person, we'll be like, ew, ew, because like we're not gonna answer that, like, ugh, like who's calling me, ugh. You know, he was just kind of like showing me and my sisters, and we're like, ew, answer it, ew, what? And then he was kind of like, oh, and we were like, what? And he's like, oh no, I know who this is. And so I was just like, what? Like, Brandon, you don't have any friends. Brandon, you don't know anybody. What are you doing? When here, that was the jewelry store calling him to confirm his order about the ring or something like that. Something related to my engagement ring. I don't remember if he answered it or let it go to voicemail, but was like listening to the voicemail or on the phone or something. So he's like doing that, and I'm just looking at him. I'm like, what the heck? Because like Brandon's never secretive about anything. I'm not even nosy. I don't even care, you know? Like I don't ask him like, who are you texting? Who is that? Who is that, Brandon? It's not like that. It was kind of just more like, he knows who the anonymous number is. What? Girl, what? So it seemed a little odd. He looks at me and he's like, I can't tell you what that was about. I'm just like, but in the back of my mind, I was kind of suspicious, you know? I was like, I can't really think of what else that would possibly be. My first thought was maybe it was his work. But I was like, why would it be some random number that he wouldn't have in his phone? I was just trying to think of every possible scenario. I was just like, you know, maybe he ordered something, you know, it was just Christmas. Maybe he ordered like a late gift or something and they were confirming the order. I don't know. That was my thought. And then I was like, wait, what about an engagement ring? So that kind of crossed my mind. And I even felt salty then because I was like, oh no, I just was all mad about seeing my brother in a jewelry store looking at rings, and Brandon and I had never done that. I was all mad. So now I'm salty. So that was in December. Then Brandon waited to propose to me because then I had the whole incident where like I messed up my hair. I had bleached my hair back to blonde and it just turned yellow and orange and pink and every color of the rainbow. So I was just like, yeah. So, you know, I didn't even like going out all that much with my hair. I like, you know, wore beanies and, you know, which, you know, people give me such crap for on YouTube. Like, oh my gosh, fix your hair. It's like, girl, I know my hair doesn't look good. I'm not sitting here up and like, look how good my hair looked, girl. I even made a whole video dedicated to I ruined my hair. So I don't think he wanted to propose to me like while my hair was looking a mess, because I made it a point to him that I wanted our engagement on film, and I think a lot of people do. I mean, that's just kind of a thing. I think most people nowadays capture their proposal on film. I mean, that's just a nice thing to have. That's a nice thing to be able to look back on. I mean, just like Brandon and I's meeting video, I love having that because as time goes by, you know, you kind of remember it less and less, and you just like to revisit that. So I think it's nice to be able to revisit those really key moments of our relationship. 50 years from now, we can literally still watch us meeting for the first time and getting engaged and all that. So I'm really kind of sentimental in that way, where I like to have things on video. So I said to him like, Brandon, like we need it on video, blah, blah, blah. And I think I even had nightmares about Brandon proposing to me, and like, I was like, are you filming? And he's like, oh no, I forgot. And like, yeah, so I was really just kind of afraid that it wouldn't be filmed for some reason. I know that sounds really kind of like I have a control issue. I kind of do. But I had been suspicious from after Christmas all the way up until May. So like that whole time period. Anytime Brandon and I were going out to dinner or like to the movies or just anywhere, like we went to the beach, I was always so suspicious that he was gonna propose every single time. There was a day, I don't remember what month this was in, I wanna say maybe February or March, I was doing laundry and like putting Brandon's clothes away. Yes, I do his laundry. I was fixing his socks and I find this stray sock in his drawer and I pick it up and there's something heavy inside of it. And I'm just like, I feel a little box. I'm just like, no! What? No, I had found the ring and I was freaking out because I knew exactly when I grabbed it what it was. I knew. I just knew. And I didn't open it. I didn't look at it. I just shoved it back in there. I wasn't even gonna tell him because I was like, oh no, like he'll be so upset because he already knew I was suspicious. And I remember telling myself not to bring up getting engaged, not to talk about getting married. I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want him to feel pressured to do it. I didn't want him to think I was suspicious. I think you already knew I was suspicious though, but you know what I mean? I was just kind of dropping the subject. I was like, letting it go. So I wasn't gonna tell him about that. I was like, no, Adria, I'm not gonna talk about a ring or engagement or anything because I just want him to do it when he feels like it's the time to. I just felt so bad about finding it that I had to tell him. I'm one of those people when something like that happens, I can't keep that to myself. I have to tell somebody. He called me later that day on his way home from work like he usually does, and I was like, honey, I found the ring in your drawer, and he was like, no! He's like, did you look at it? Did you open it? And I'm like, no, I just put it back. So after that, when he came home, he was like, all right, leave. I'm gonna hide it somewhere else. So he hid it somewhere I would never stumble upon it on accident. So I did know that he had a ring. So then he ended up proposing to me in May. I guess he wanted to do it in a special way. I mean, everybody does, but the ring that he picked out is like a flower. I guess I'll do like a close-up of the ring if you haven't seen it. But Brandon was so afraid that the ring wasn't gonna fit me, that it was gonna be too small or too big. I think what he did was when he was picking out the size, I have like a few little just you know, everyday rings. You know, he found my other rings and he went by those sizes. I guess he took them to a ring store or something. So he used the rings that I had already had to get the size for this one. The problem with that was those rings that he used didn't fit on my ring finger. They only fit on my, I think my pointer finger. Oh no, I'm gonna get this stuck. So once he started worrying about if it would fit or not, he was like, I kind of want to test the ring on you to see if it'll fit. And I was like, what? So there was a day he made me close my eyes and he put the ring on my finger because he didn't want me to see it. He was like, oh, it's a little too big. And I think he may have gotten it resized. I think he did before he proposed, but it's still just a tad too big. I mean, I can still wear it. It still, you know, stays on, but it rolls around, you know. When I'm on my period, it fits. So Brandon planned this whole day where we would go to the sunflower maze here in Florida back in May. He had it all planned out, and I think we were gonna do it the weekend before, but it rained or something, I don't know. Somehow it didn't work out, so he was like, all right, let's do it next weekend. To me, it was just like, you know, this maze is really far away. This isn't like, you know, right down the street, so we had to drive like, I think an hour to get there. I could just tell by how he was acting that day. I know him way too well. Like, I know when something is wrong, I just know him. You know, when you're around somebody all the time, you just know them. So I could just tell he was not himself that day. I had a feeling he was gonna propose. Sunflowers are my favorite flower. Cute little maze. I was like, you know what? I feel like he's gonna do it. But let me just say this. Even if you're suspicious that you're gonna get proposed to, nothing prepares you for the feeling of when it actually happens. Nothing. Even if I knew the exact moment, the exact time, the exact spot it would happen, you're still just taken back, like, what is happening? And you're still just as in shock and surprised and just emotional, all of it. Nothing prepares you for it. So I have an entire vlog from that day on our vlog channel. I'll link that up in the cards and down below as well if you guys haven't seen that. But yeah, you know, that's why I advertise the vlog channel, because like, you know, you miss stuff when you're not subbed to both channels. So yeah, you guys can go over and see that. Basically, we were in the sunflower maze. It was so unbearably hot in there. I don't think I really knew how hot it was gonna be. I was wearing like gray and black and just, you know, not really prepared for that. I wish I would have worn like a tank top or, you know, a dress or something. I kind of wish I was 100% sure I was getting proposed to. I would have looked a lot cuter that day. Brandon was so nervous, okay? And in the car ride there, I was just watching him and his foot was tapping, and Brandon's just not like that. Like, Brandon doesn't really have anxiety like I do. He's not super like on edge a lot. He's very kind of chill and laid back. So when Brandon's like anxiously tapping his foot and kind of antsy and kind of on the edge of his seat, I'm kind of like, are you okay? Because that's just not like him. So I could just tell by how he was acting that something was up, and I'm like, oh no. So then after he proposed to me, of course I said yes. It was so funny because I was like crying and we're just like all like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And people are like walking past us in the maze and nobody even knew what happened. You know, we're kind of those people that keep to ourselves. I feel like anybody else in our position would be like, we just got engaged, but we're just kind of just like, shh, like don't say anything, you know? Which I think is why Brandon wanted it to just be the two of us rather than have like my family there or his family there. He didn't want like an audience, so to speak, even though he was filming. But then I'm like trying to text my family and Snapchat it and, you know, like text my family like, oh my gosh, I just got engaged, and there was no phone service. And I'm like trying to send the picture of the ring and it's not sending. So I'm like waiting to put it on social media because I wanted my family to know before anybody else, and I couldn't call them because there was no signal, and it was a whole mess. But then of course I was like, you know, texting everyone. And here Brandon and my family had a group chat, text chat thing called Operation Proposal, and I guess he had showed them the ring and told them, you know, kind of his plan, I think. They all knew it was gonna happen. People ask me all the time, like, were they happy? And of course they were happy. I mean, like, you know, we live in Florida together, so I think it's just kind of like, you know, inevitable that we were gonna get engaged and married and everything. So, you know, it's not just like we're casually dating and everything. And then Brandon just decides to engage to me. Proposed to me. So my family was all super happy, and you know, of course, you know, everybody's like crying and like, yay, it's just so happy. Yeah, so we've been dating for a little bit over 3 years, so everybody was like, you know, like just get engaged already, because Brandon and I, it's odd. We have such an odd relationship where like we feel like we're family already. Like I feel like I've known him forever. There's nothing in the world I could ever tell him or say to him that I feel like would shock him or surprise him or make him not love me anymore, because we just get each other. We just click, we get it. And I feel like when you find somebody that is so good for you like that, that's how it feels. It never felt like I had to try with him, try to impress him, try to keep him interested in me, none of that. So for me, it was just kind of like, yeah, duh, we're gonna get married, duh. What day was that on? That was on it was a long weekend that weekend. So that was on Saturday. So we went to the beach, I think Sunday into Monday, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that's how it went, but we went, you know, we went and stayed at the beach because we have been planning to do that for a while too, because normally when we go to the beach, it's such a hassle because it's like an hour to get there, and then we stay there for a few hours, and then it's an hour to get home. So it's like, you know, that's at least 2 hours of the day. So, you know, Brandon's like, you know, we should just like get a hotel and just stay there so we can spend all day at the beach and we don't have to rush to get home or anything. Brandon told me that the beach was actually his backup plan to propose to me if for some reason the maze proposal didn't work out. But that was such a nice weekend. Oh my gosh, the beach was so nice. It felt like that weekend went by so slowly. We just had fun. We ate a bunch of food. Oh, we ate Lunchables. Brandon got super sunburned. The funny thing is about that weekend is like we slept in separate beds. I know nobody would probably ever believe that, but I was like, this room has 2 beds. I kind of want my own bed. I think that covers pretty much everything. I still do have to get my ring resized, of course. And of course, the #1 question is, when are you guys getting married? I don't think it'll be until like 2018, just because it takes like, you know, like a year or so to plan a wedding. And my brother is actually getting married next year. So I'm just like, you know, 2 weddings in a year is a lot. And, you know, Brandon and I are just kind of, you know, we haven't really planned very much of it. So everybody asks me, when are you guys getting married? When are you guys getting married? So we don't even officially know yet. So, and I don't know 100% if that's something I'm going to share every detail of online, just for, you know, like privacy and people that I don't really want involved in it, if that makes sense. You know, I do put a lot of my life out there and on here, but you know, this is gonna be a special day for the both of us, so I don't really want, for lack of a better word, to exploit it. You know, knowing me, there probably will be a wedding video of sorts. I just don't know as of this moment, if I'm gonna, you know, announce the date or the whereabouts or anything like that, you know, I'll keep you guys posted. That's just my feelings as of right now. So that's pretty much it for this. This is a super long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it though. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments below. I would ask like, oh, what's your engagement story? But I mean, I don't know if all of you guys are engaged, but you know, if you are married or engaged, let me know how yours went. Or, oh, here's a good one. How would you want to be proposed to? Because I think Brandon definitely hit the nail on the head with doing it in a sunflower maze, my favorite flower. And even my ring is like a little flower, and Brandon picked this out himself. That's another fun fact. All the ladies I've showed this to, like, who helped him pick that? And I was like, he did it. And he's like, I looked through so many rings and none of them just seemed like you. They were all just plain and boring, and you're not plain and boring, and I wanted something special for you and something kind of different. I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna cry. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media. That is all linked down below. And yeah, you can subscribe to my vlog channel and go check out the engagement vlog if you haven't seen that. If I didn't answer any of your questions about the engagement, you can also leave that in the comments below. I will see you guys again real soon. Until then, panda hugs. I love you guys. Bye!